What's up, former party people? This is Jerry, the one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time.
Booyah!
Welcome back to the A is for Alcoholic podcast, where we deal with recovery, alcoholism, daily life in a very strange time, dealing with an invisible disease that's out to get us.
Yo, for real, dude. Oh yeah. I did a Zoom meeting the other morning.
How was it? I have not been on one.
It was like the squares of the Brady Bunch, but it was all mostly women, like older women, and then me and two other guys. And I actually ran into somebody I know who was like, "What's up, Jerry?" in the little chat window on the side. And so I'm like, "Hey," and they're like, "Good to see you." And I'm like, "Good to see you too." I enjoyed it. I shared and everything. It was weird.
Okay.
I didn't really share about alcoholism. I'm just like, "Yo, I've been stuck in my house now for a week, and I'm not going crazy. I'm all right." And I feel like, well, I guess I did talk about alcoholism, but because the program helped me out a lot. It's been helping me out during this time of quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah, or stay at home, or whatever they call it.
A shelter in place.
Yeah, ours is stay at home, save lives. That's
Stay at home, save lives.
That's what Oregon's calling it. Yeah.
I think our governor was just like, get the fuck inside. I mean,
Yeah.
this is shelter in place, but like, do not leave your house. And so I went out yesterday and it seemed all pretty normal out there, right? I went to the store, I wore gloves. I probably should have one of my little like dust cover, like running masks or whatever. It's called a buff, where you kind of supposed to wrap your face around. So I might grab that.
Those. Yeah.
I have some from when we did the marathon, but yeah, everyone seemed kind of normal out there. Like everyone's just kind of staying away from each other. And yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying you should go out there because it's normal. I'm just like, I was out for 20 minutes, got some groceries and came home. And
yeah,
like you were saying before, I don't really mind it too much. I mean, I guess I'm kind of used to staying at home and just doing my own thing and reading books and playing games and working on art. I saw you did like a dog. Who was that dog picture?
Oh, I've been working on it for the past few days, like on and off. It's a portrait of my boss. She had to die within a month of each other. And yeah, it's a portrait of those two guys. She like hit me up and was like, "Will you do this portrait of me?" And she asked me like a month ago, and I'm really lazy with commission work, so I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get to it whenever." And then this quarantine came around, I'm like, "Fuck it, let's do it." Like I've got nothing but time. I can only play the Division 2 for so long before I start getting start feeling useless,
Right?
Yeah.
What's your longest like video game sit?
It's been a while, but I sat for like 11 hours one day, about maybe 12,
Nice.
playing Fallout 4 by myself. Dude. Not even
Story
with
mode.
other people online. Just story. I got so involved in the story. But there have been times when I played Overwatch with those guys for like 5 hours.
Okay.
Or like this Division 2 yesterday. I think I played like 3 hours, maybe 4 hours of those. Maybe it was about 3.5 hours. And I was like, I got to make dinner, man. I want to keep leveling up, but I got to make this dinner. We'll kill these terrorists later. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I got Red Dead Redemption 2. It was one of the things I got myself for my birthday before right around the time before this became as serious as it is now, at least what we're having to do. And I've been playing it a little bit, and I think the thing that I enjoy more, I love the game mechanics and I love the story and stuff like that. I think I just like the fast-paced action of Grand Theft Auto more than I like the slow-paced
Yeah,
horses and
the pensive story driven. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
but
I hear you.
but
Just go
I'm
racing with Coda.
you're
Just race
right.
with him. Yeah. You know
um
he's got a mic. He acts like he doesn't. I played him before, and he's like, "No mic," and I'm like, "Bullshit," because I just did a whole podcast with you, and you had a mic,
right.
son.
No,
Yeah.
he just doesn't want to talk to you.
Doesn't want to talk to me, which I don't mind.
But what else is going on? So yeah, we're all stuck in the house. I think one of the things I learned yesterday too, and we will get to the letter, I swear,
Yeah.
that we're working on today, is I was kind of sitting around and I was reading too much news. I don't know if you do that as well, or if you're kind of trying to stay away from it, but I'm not getting
nodding
anything
yes.
new.
Yeah, I watch a lot
Uh-huh.
of news.
So it was like bad news and bad news and bad news and bad news, right? And so there's plenty of bad news. There's no shortage. I have this little box that could just fill my day with bad news if I'd let it. And I kind of did, and I was feeling shitty and lamenting things. And then I was listening to this, and I highly suggest this. And it's called the PMA, Positive Mental Attitude, and it's that did I tell you about this? John Joseph,
It's that guy
Pro
from the
Mags?
Pro Mags, yeah.
Right. So we talked about this. So I put that on because I was like, I need a fucking break. I need to hear something good. And he was talking about like negative mindset, and he was talking about his negative thoughts coming up, and his name is John as well. And he's like, John, fuck your workout, fuck your writing, like, and I was like, no, man, I'm not going to do that. And I still had about an hour of sunlight, and it wasn't warm outside. I mean, it's warmer than where you're at, but I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to lace up and go. I'm not really going to worry about stretching because I did some stuff in the morning, and I just went out, and it like totally changed my attitude. So I don't know about you, but I highly suggest to anybody out there, like if there's any kind of exercise movement, anything that you can do, I swear to God, it works.
It does.
As soon as we're done here. And then what was up with
what's that?
Oh, with the push-ups? I saw you doing some fucking clap.
So, I don't know.
Somebody
Somebody that you follow on Instagram that I don't know who they are. It's at Harry and Scary. I'm not sure who that is, but it's somebody that we follow on Instagram who I believe might be one of us. He just like hit me up. They were doing challenges like on Facebook where they're, what color is your bra, or whatever they were doing, but now they're doing it on Instagram because people are just hanging around. And so this dude was like, yo, Jerry, he like tagged a bunch of people and he was doing 10 clapping push-ups. And I ignored it because I was like, I already worked out. I don't want to do 10 clapping push-ups. My form is awful. And then he sent me a message. He's like, where are my clappers at? I'm like, God damn it. So I had to record it twice because the first time it just was struggling. I looked so crap. And so I ended up doing 20 clapping push-ups on top of like an hour workout that day. Wow. So yeah, I was like, bam, and I wasn't gonna tag anybody else because I'm like, I'm not gonna make everybody work out, like. But I thought it passed time and it made me laugh, and it's the way we occupy ourselves because we're fucking. If you're following the rules, and it's so weird for me to say that because it runs completely opposite of who I am as a person, like following rules.
Right.
But if you're following rules, you're sitting. So it's always good to occupy yourselves. I don't feel cynical about these games. These little Instagram games. I mean, I might do them, I might not, but it's one of those things where I'm like, look, I'm not going to be too cool for fucking trying to reach out to another human being, like, you want to be cynical and too cool, that's fine. Enjoy it. Like, enjoy your cynicism. Maybe that feels really good. Yeah. Maybe that feels like a drug and you get high off of it, like nicotine.
Maybe. So yeah, so that's good. So finding routine is good. I think so. That's our letter. N is for nicotine and, other vices in sobriety. I know that nicotine is a big one, right? It still is, regardless of whatever the smoking laws are in your state, which I think most of them are pretty strong and stringent. I don't think there are very few places, certainly not. I remember briefly in 2005 in Seattle when you could smoke inside, or maybe no, it was like 3, 4. Yes. So there was like a couple years. But
it was like 2005 because I was smoking with you in Seattle in the bars. And I remember riding the train back with this guy talking about how they're getting rid of they're doing the smoking ban. And he's like, I love it. I go to bars and I don't want to smell like cigarettes. And I remember being super offended at him, being like, fuck you, stay out of the bar, you goddamn beginner. But it's the same
Mm-hmm.
amateur hour. Like, go to your
Right.
little dance club. Don't sit in my gross bar where I'm trying to kill myself. Good Lord. I remember being really offended. I don't know if I expressed that in that way, but I was just like, well, I heartily disagree, sir, you know. But yeah, I smoke so
I
much.
Yeah, I remember thinking like, man, you can't take this away. This is our sanctuary of sin. This is the only place we get to go to do bad things. And like this was I was trying to be, I don't know, poetic and proud and whatever about it. And I just cannot. It's
But it's
just
such a cornball.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My
So
sanctuary
corny.
is sin.
That's what
My
I used to
neon
say.
church. Oh yeah, no, I know. I used to say that shit too. It's our church of neon lights. You know, when it's like a
Mm-hmm.
fucking advertising line in Google or something.
Mm-hmm. Um, but in sobriety, uh cigarettes, and they talk about meetings and stuff like that back in the day when it would be what, like smoke filled basements and
Right.
everybody
One of the
smoking. And
jobs is to empty out ashtrays,
right,
back in the day.
so that's not really a thing anymore,
Not
in
really.
too many places that I know of in my
Maybe,
experience.
maybe Alaska, Texas, maybe.
But I know that cigarettes and smoking is a way of alleviating stress for some people.
Absolutely.
I know it
Yeah.
was for me. I mean, I've been smoke free for however many years, and but it was always something where it's like, oh man, if I can just have this smoke, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I've heard in early recovery and sobriety was, don't quit all the things all at once,
Yeah.
because
Easy does it, right?
easy does it. Because it's you go like, you know what, feel like, all right, sometimes feel like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff, I'm going to quit all these things, and then you end up like just relapsing on everything.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, when I quit drinking in July of 2015, so that was July, August, September, October. So it was like 3.5 months or something. October 1st, 2015 was the first day that I didn't smoke, and I
Mhm.
quit smoking. Like straight up cold turkey. I don't really know exactly how I did it. I mean,
Wait,
but
what year was it? I'm sorry. What year was that?
2015, 15.
So you were sober, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so when I did it, it was kind of like a bet. Walter and I were like, yeah, let's see if we can quit smoking. Because I remember one of the things I would do in early sobriety was I would go for long drives. I would just go
Hmm.
driving because I felt like if I can go out and drive for like 4 hours, like I would just go up and down the coast or drive through California,
Hmm.
and I would smoke cigarettes. I would chain smoke cigarettes and I would drive, because at least that way I couldn't drink, because
Yeah.
I was always, it's like if I'm in the car, I won't drink and I'll just drive and I'll smoke and I'll drive and I'll smoke. But I would also start to get fucking serious chest pains.
Right.
And I knew what it was.
Hmm.
I had no um delusion about what it was. And I was like, fuck, I just need these chest pains to go away and then I can smoke again. Like that's insane. That's just my alcoholic thinking. But so, I mean, cigarettes
Yeah.
were really important to me in early sobriety, like in those first few months before we decided to take that break. And it was hard. Like the way that I mean, Alan Carr, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Name sounds familiar.
He's a big proponent of anti-smoking, and he talks about, how to work your brain, and it's all about habits and cues and rewards and stuff like that. If you're interested, if anyone's interested, check out Alan Carr. I'm not here to tell anybody not to smoke. Like I'm just telling you how I did what I did. But I would just kind of imagine like the cigarette would have two little synapses right in my brain, and if I smoked, they would touch. But if I
Hmm.
didn't smoke this one cigarette and I just let this one cigarette go, the synapses would get a little bit further apart.
Yeah.
And then if I let the next one go, they get a little bit further apart until they couldn't
Hmm.
even touch each other.
Yeah.
And then I finally like lost the urge. But that being said, it was crucial to have something. I needed a crutch to not drink in
Yeah.
those first months. So, um, I don't know about you. Were you smoking cigarettes, or
Yeah.
had you done? Or were you done with that? Okay, so you
No,
were
no,
still on.
I smoked like 18 months into recovery, probably a little longer. I was vaping on and off though while I was still drinking. Like I had quit when I was drinking still near my bottom. And so I started vaping and then the battery on the thing I had died and I was like spent my vape money on booze. So I was like, well, back to smoking cigarettes again. And then I got sober and then I just smoked. I drank so many red fucking rock stars, man. I would drink two of
Mm-hmm.
those tall cans of rock star every day. It was like 500 milligrams of caffeine in early recovery, and I smoked. I smoked like a pack and a half a day, and it wasn't. I wasn't getting chest pains, but I couldn't tie my shoes without getting hit. Or like I went. I remember when I needed to quit smoking cigarettes is when I remember Olive was probably, God, I don't know, like 3 or 4. She must have been 4, and I bent over to pick her up to put her on my hip and like almost fainted when I stood back up holding her, and I was like, whoa, like I got really swimmy. And so I was like, dang, it's these fucking cigarettes. So I quit smoking and I got back on the vape again. And
Mm-hmm.
and then started stepping down the nicotine from the vape. And I'm still vaping now. I mean, I've been cigarette free for about 5 years, but I'm still
Mm-hmm.
vaping. I'm still vaping, but it's just, and I've been stuck at the same milligram because they usually start you off at 12 milligrams of nicotine, which is, you vape a pot of that, and that's about more or less. No, it's about a bottle is like more or less a pack of cigarettes, maybe a little more depending on how much you vape. But now I'm down to 3 milligrams. I went down to 1.5, and at one point I went down to zero. And when I went down to zero, I just jumped on that vape all day. You know what I mean? Like a monkey, like just trying to get the nicotine out of it. And there was no nicotine to be had. So for me, it was the opposite. I found I vaped more when I had less nicotine instead of vaping less. So I went back up to 3 again. I think I smoked I think in the 5 years I've quit, I've smoked maybe 2 cigarettes, and they were gross. They were
Yeah.
so gross. Yeah. That being said, there is a part of me, the addict in me, that still misses smoking. You don't put these things down, like you don't. It's just like with alcohol. There is this lonesome part of me every once in a while that comes up that misses all the ambiance around it and all the everything that has to do with it.
The Zippo lighter and the
I
cigarette
have a
case,
Zippo
maybe even,
collection.
and
Yeah, I've got a whole.
put it in your breast pocket. And
Yeah, I have a row of Zippos still. I display them now because I'm like, dang, I spent all this money on like 10 Zippo lighters because I would get drunk and lose a Zippo and then buy a new one and then find the old one in a back pocket. But I'm part of me misses it. Like if I'm outside and someone lights a cigarette, that smells good to me. But then the rest of it's gross. Like after that first 2 drags, I'm like, oh, you smell it's like that's too much. But
Mhm.
one blame anybody for their addiction. Do you know what I mean? Like I hate it when
No.
people did that to me. It fucking pissed me off. Well, that's gonna kill you. Don't you know that? I'm like, yeah, I fucking know that, dude. Like I'm
Mhm.
aware. It's not like I emerged from a cave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even before social distancing was a thing barely 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
I don't want to shame anyone either, because I was an avid smoker. I was a big proponent of it for a very long time.
uh-huh,
But even these days, I would see somebody smoking, and I don't want to shame you, but if I'm going out for a run, or even if I'm just going out for a walk, I'm sorry, but I'm not walking through your smoke. I'm going to go to the other side of the street. And you can take that however you want, but I'm just not interested in being around it. You know what
right.
I mean? It's fucking gross to me now. And I that's fine. I get it. Like, it's a bitch and it's a
Yeah,
hard thing to let go of. Um, but I'm not interested anymore.
right.
So I mean, what is the alternative to walk through somebody's secondhand smoke just to
Yeah.
make them feel better?
I do. See, we're on
You do?
opposite paths. Fuck yeah, I
You
like
do?
take them all free. Yeah, free cigarette. Yeah, no, I'm not even joking. Like I walk right through it. It doesn't bother me. I mean, it doesn't bother me like it does other people. You have every right to do that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really funny because we are presenting in a way, we're coming from two different sides of it. Where I'm like, don't smoke in my house. Don't if you're gonna be in the tattoo shop and it's raining, don't fucking bring your wet cigarette butt into the shop in your pocket because a lot of people would smoke half a cigarette and stick it in
Yeah.
their pocket.
Nasty.
And there's something about the water that smoke stick to you. Like, I just don't want to smell that. It's more on people's clothes and on their hands and shit. It bothers me more than like me being out in the world. I walk through the cloud of smoke and I'm like, it is what it is. I walk through worse every day. But it's our perspectives. It's what is acceptable to you. It may be maybe unacceptable to me. It's all perception. And I know you personally. I know you're not crossing the street to make a big show of it or to be rude and be like, ugh, how dare you? You know, you're just like, man, I don't want to walk through that. Sorry. You're probably a very nice person. I just don't want to walk through that. Whereas I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it doesn't, you know, I just don't. Actually, I don't even think of it. I just walk right through it. Like, because I'm in downtown Eugene, Oregon every day. People chain smoke in front of the shop. I mean, there's all kinds. There's huge smoking population, and I'm just around it. So to me, it's not the anomaly right now. It's still the norm. What was the anomaly was watching people vape and become the norm. You have some dude in a Juggalo shirt and giant bondage pants just ripping off of a car battery. You know, just. You know what I mean? Like that shit has become way more normal. They're just like Mountain Dew and Dorito flavor.
You should write that one down, Jerry. That needs to go in your next rhyme.
Yeah.
That's good. I love that image. Ripping on a car battery.
Well, that's what it looks like. You know, they're out there like, you know. But that being said, like to any of our listeners who smoke, take your time. Do what you got to do. You know, just realize if you can get over fucking alcohol and you've got a little bit of time under your belt, you could probably get over cigarettes too. But then it's coming from me, who's still addicted to nicotine. So I'm a giant hypocrite, I guess. Because
you're not a hypocrite. I mean, it's not. Well, let's be clear about something with you. Okay, I'm just gonna ask you. I'm not talking to anybody else. You smoke, you vape, so you ingest nicotine, which you know is. I mean, how do you? Like logically speaking, it's not good for you.
No, it's really bad for it elevates your heart rate.
So
it fucks with your heart rate, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So then my conversation with you is over. Like I'm not interested in judging you. I'm not interested in making you feel bad, but like just so that we're all on the same page, we know it's not good. So the assumption is that one day you would like to be smoke free. So I assume that everybody who's smoking on some deeper level would rather not be.
Some don't. I mean, some just have accepted it and they're like, this is what I do now and this is my jam and this is my liberty to do so. And I, you know, like once again, I applaud it. I wouldn't necessarily encourage it, but it is your right to do those things. It's all like, this is the way I try to think about it too. And I had a moment the other day where like I've been using these smaller kind of vapes. It's like they're like little pods almost. It's like a little pod. It's like a tiny pack of cigarettes now. And what it's like a pod you click into a battery and then that battery will, you know, heat up the element or whatever. And the battery broke. And this was the day before like I stopped leaving, a couple days before I stopped leaving the house. And I had like a panicked moment where like the battery broke and I was like, fuck, I'm going to be stuck in this house and not be able to vape because I have no other device. So I had to like run down to the store to buy another unit, but the only unit they had was like, it was the full unit with everything. So it was like $80. And I was like, damn, I don't want to spend that. But I did. Absolutely. I did. And I drove home and I had that feeling in my gut. Like when I thought the fifth of whiskey was only going to cost me $13 and it costed me $20 and I had spent the $20. Do you know what I mean? Like I had
that feeling.
Yeah. I sat with it in the car and I'm just like, I spent way more than I wanted to spend, but I needed it. Like that part of my brain, that monkey, it's still there telling me I needed it. And it made me feel, in that moment, it made me sad until I got home and, you know, packed it all up and started vaping. Then I felt great again. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's just all part of the fucking process. So, but the thing is, I'm at this position now where I can recognize that. And I can say, that's your addict right there. And your addict is really talking to you hard. And, you know, you need to be wary of that shit. Now, will it make me drink again? I doubt it. But, you know, it's a strange thing, right? Because I process it like, do I want to be a slave to this? But then the justification in my brain is you're a slave to a lot of other things that you don't want to be a slave to either. And you still continue to do it, whether you can help it or not. Is this a thing I can help? Yeah, probably. Is it something I'm willing to handle right now? No.
And therein lies the answer. I mean, if you're not willing,
right.
Right. So
Right.
the only reason you quit drinking is because you were
I was willing.
ultimately willing.
Yeah, I had
You
a
were willing to
desire to
quit.
stop drinking.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
and
mean, how are you gonna make sobriety stick to someone who doesn't want to quit? Exactly. Yeah.
you know, so the same thing, like you, and that's a great justification. You're like, well, I'm addicted to caffeine. I'm addicted to sugar. I'm addicted to fucking corn chips,
Right.
whatever it is, right? And so
Right.
donuts, and it's easier to be like, well, fuck it. I guess I'll just pile another one on top. It
Right.
doesn't matter anyway. Which again is very, it's self-defeating. And that's another
Mhm.
thing that I'm learning, is that to recognize those things and go, well, wait a second. Just because you've got a pile of shit in your lap doesn't mean you should actively put more on top of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You should be trying. I need to be trying to get some of the shit off of my lap
Right.
little by little.
Right.
Even if I keep putting more on every day, I should be trying to get some of it off every day as well.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
so and with cigarettes, for me, one of the other things that I learned was that, and this goes, I think, for most habits, this cigarettes are just fucking a particular kind of evil hook in you because of their addictive quality. But it doesn't, I always used to think it would calm my nerves. I always used to think
Hmm.
it would make me relax. I always used to think that that's what took the edge off. The problem is that for me, the nicotine was the thing, or the nicotine addiction was the thing that caused the edge, which caused the nerves, which caused me to be high strung. And
Hmm.
so it was that part in me that was addicted to it, that would say, hey man, we need a cigarette, we need a cigarette, we need a cigarette. And then the only thing that got calmed was that voice, because it elevated, it spiked my heart rate, it constricted my veins, it did all the bad shit that we all know that this stuff does.
Yeah.
And the only thing that calmed was that voice, was that little worm that would burrow a hole in my brain, as
Yeah.
Walter used to say. And it's like, I gotta stop that worm from digging around.
Right.
And that was another realization for me, that it was like, oh, I'm not actually calming myself. I'm just calming that voice. I'm just calming that addiction in my
Right.
brain.
Right.
So
You're
that was
feeding the
something that was
worm.
helpful.
Yeah.
I was feeding the worm. So that was something that was helpful to me to finally let it go. But I would never judge anybody for smoking a cigarette, especially in recovery, man. Like, especially if you got to sit, if you're going to one of your first meetings and you're like, I got to sit here for a whole fucking hour without a cigarette. This is
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Uh, right? You know, when it's hard enough on its own. Um, but I don't know. I just, you have to want to quit. I don't think that there's anything wrong, especially like, right. If it's between a cigarette and a drink, have a cigarette.
Smoke them up. Yeah.
If it's between a donut and a drink, have a donut.
Right.
Um, and it's not until I begin to put these other habits in place do things begin to change. I was looking at you on Instagram doing fucking clap push-ups. Like,
Yeah.
I can't really do push-ups, Jerry. I mean, I can do a few. I can do them,
Yeah.
but they look really bad, and they're
Mhm.
like, I'm not very strong.
But it takes time though, right? It's just like
It takes
running.
time.
It's just like you
So,
couldn't run a fucking block and now you're jamming out like 5 miles on the regular. It's just like with the
mhm,
push-ups, you know.
right.
But even me, I like ended up doing 20. Like I was telling you before we started the podcast, or no, we were talking
Yeah.
about this during the podcast. But yeah, I ended up doing 20. I filmed it wrong and it looked bad. But that's just part of my routine now. Like when I work out in the morning, I do 40 push-ups. I just space
Damn.
them out. Yeah, but I space them out. Like and even with benching, like I bench like little dumbbells, but then they're like 15 pounds a piece. But I do like I think almost 50. Like, but I space them out. It all takes time. You just learn how to do it. And I'm not the push-up master. I fucking hate push-ups. I hate them with all my heart, but I still do them because I feel better after I do it,
I do.
It's always turns into our fitness podcast, but it's just this weird natural progression for me and you. Like it was just this weird progression. It was like we needed something else to make us feel good. And parts of life were making us feel good, but I feel like as alcoholics we also need to control things and take an active measure to make things feel good too. You can't just forget, or at least me personally, let it happen. I need to seize it and like get as much of it as I can. So to me, it was like first it was working out, and then you started running, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna check that out. And then it was running, and to be honest with you, the running actually is a way faster track. It's like freebasing those endorphins. Like the workout, I'll get a little high afterwards, but man, if I run enough, like I feel it. It's like smoking a rock, but a rock of endorphins. Yeah, I'm like, bam, it hit me in line at Safeway while I was getting smoothie shit, and then I'm like, whoa.
I feel
wow.
good.
Yeah, smiling at everybody. What the fuck am I smiling for? But,
I think that's funny that's your metaphor. That's your analogy. It's like freebasing fucking endorphins, but it's true.
It is. But the running is. But the workout's more of a slow burn. But it's just. I think where we're at now, a lot of people are gonna be smoking a lot more because we got nothing but time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like. What better one to smoke? What was your brand? I remember your.
So I had a few different brands.
But I remember yeah. Go ahead.
When I very first started, like as far back as I can remember, and I think like maybe around Eugene, because there was a little bit of smoking in high school, but not much. Was Old Golds. I used to smoke Old Golds.
That's the brand I remember you smoking.
And then somebody introduced me to the Parliament Light because they had the recessed filter. So it was the opposite. Old Golds were like thick and harsh. And then I was like, but these are kind of cool. And I like the pack. And what's this recessed filter? And they're like, that's where you can put a little cocaine and
just do a bump out of your cigarette. That's so weird. But yeah, I've heard that same rumor, like you can put a little coke in the Parliament. And I'm like, why don't you just put it on your hand?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do a bump out of the cigarette?
Stick I get cigarette in your nose. Cause you're gross. I don't know.
Nose, right? Like you're gross. Like you're in a club and you want to do a bump like clandestinely, but you just are sticking your cigarette in your nose in front of everybody, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing a bump out of that Parliament, huh?" Yeah. I remember you smoking Parliaments and Old Golds. Yeah.
But I think I got turned on to menthols through you.
Yes.
And. I don't know. I was never like hardcore partial. Like I would end up smoking Camels for a while. I never really smoked Marlboros, but there was the Camel when they came out with the Crushes, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I think you had the Crushes, and I was like, "What's this Crush?" And you're like, "Well, it's a regular cigarette." And then you pop the BB, and then you get a little menthol hit.
Yeah, a little menthol. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's how I started smoking. Was my mom smoked Cools. And they had a little penguin on the pack back in the 70s and 80s. And my mom would keep her cigarettes in the freezer. And so I would steal them out of the freezer and smoke them at like 14. And then I really started smoking when I was 16. At 14, I just roll up on a dirt bike like Coda, like just puffing on the smoke. That's how I always imagined Coda at 14. Just, you know what I mean? With like a mullet smoking a Marlboro, So
what up, nerds?
What up, you fucking nerds? Just fart in his hand and stick it into your nose, But it was Cools, and then I moved out of the house and I was smoking the GPCs, and then GPC menthols, and then Newports, and then Cools again. It was always menthol. Oh, I smoked Camels for a while too, just straight Camels. During the swing era, we were all smoking filterless Camels. Yeah, filterless Camels. It's just so funny that these brands we like associate, we like connect to these brands. It's just like with alcohol. Like I remember when you drank, your preferred brand usually was Tito's.
Yes.
Right? You drank a lot of Tito's vodka because it tasted good and it was like relatively mid-priced, It
was mid-priced, but it still had a little cachet.
Yeah. It was like, I'm a bartender. I know the quality. Whereas mine was like Evan Williams, and Evan Williams was just cheap. It was just cheap Jim Beam. I love Jim Beam, but Evan Williams was cheaper, so I would buy that. But we attach ourselves to this brand, and it's like the same with cigarettes. Yeah, like American Spirits tastes different than a pack of Camels, but how much different at the end of the day,
Yeah, it's just
It's
identity.
identity, right? And our alcoholism and our addiction is really rooted in our identity. Even now, you and I have identities now. We have different identities. I'm like, in my personal life, like when I'm out in the world tattooing or I'm out in the world walking around, I'm not really big on the recovery identity. I was in the beginning. In early recovery, I was like, I worm it in every conversation I had. Hey, have you heard I don't drink anymore?
Right.
And
Well,
I'll wear a little necklace that has like a little AA medallion on it, or like I keep my now I'm starting to act now I'm starting to sound like I do have my identity all around it, but I keep like my 24-hour chip on my keychain. But that's because it reminds me. I like to have it on me, But
mhm.
anyway, like I'm not like blowing it from the rooftops. I talk about recovery more here than I do with my wife, but out in the world, it comes up, but it's not. I don't have a T-shirt that's just like ask me about my crippling alcoholism. Maybe I should get one though. It's
Maybe you
all these
should. Uh,
identities though.
well, yeah, and it's my identity now. It's hard for me. It's still hard for me to go, oh, well, I'm a runner. And hear that, I say that,
Right.
and I hear myself say it, and I don't always 100% believe it because there's still a part of my brain that's like, no, you're not, man. Don't play it up. Don't
Right.
don't be a don't be a showboat. You're still a fucking, drunk, and you're still this and you're still that. And I'm like, but the truth is, if you do something every day, that's what you become. That's, at least
Right.
for me. Like, so if
Right.
I do it every day, that's what I become. And so it's not about like medals or anything. It's about what do you do every single day.
Right.
So that there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that.
Right. What you do and your identity are very well, they're hand in hand, right? So here's the thing I've had with my life, especially as I get older, is with my identity is that, oh, come on now. Oh, so sorry, my phone was buzzing because all the kids are out of school, so they're all FaceTiming each other. So my nephew will FaceTime my daughter like
Hmm.
6 times a day, and it makes my watch buzz. But anyway, I tattoo for a living, right? And people
Hmm.
think that's the core of my identity. But the longer I've been tattooing, the less it is about my identity, and it's more my profession. When I
Right.
first started tattooing, I was like, that was who I was. I'm Jerry, and I tattoo. I'm a tattooer. That's what I do. That's who I am. And now as I get older, that's just what I do. That's it's eh, even a lot of the guys I work with, and they're all about it. It's like their love. Almost everybody I work with is their love. It's who they
Hmm.
are. It's who you are as a person, and that's great. I love them for it. But for me, that's not. I don't have fun painting tattoo flash. Like during this whole quarantine, like I'm not painting any tattoo flash because it's not fun to me. That's work. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Now,
do.
work is fun, but doing work at home for me is not fun. And I feel
Right.
like the idea that since you do something you're supposed to love, it's supposed to be fun to you all the fucking time. That's all you're supposed to think about. And I've really resented that for a long time, especially working with them because they're just like, why don't you, if you cared about tattooing more? But anyway, that's a whole side subject there. But
Well,
it
no.
ties in with identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's important. So, and again, not to say there's a difference between profession and who you are and what you do for a living, right? So I'm talking about the things that
But
you
they
do.
tie up though. Yeah.
Yeah. But the things that you do um outside of your profession, that's who you are. The things that you love to do, the things that you're not asked to do, the things that you're not forced
Right.
to do, the
Right.
things that you are compelled to do, that you're excited to do, right? So
Hmm.
if that's drawing, if that's doing art, then
Right.
you are an artist. And I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you ever had more of an issue, or I don't know if you've ever had an issue saying like I'm an artist and being
No,
comfortable in that.
none at
You've
all.
always you've always loved
Oh,
that.
yeah, I flung that around the room. I was like, hello, everyone. I'm an artist. I'm a free thinker. Whereas with tattooing, as I get older, I'm like, I paint and I tattoo for a living. But I know people whose identities are so tied up. The same with recovery, their identities become so tied up into it that it's hard for them to make any lateral move. They can only move in this one direction. That's all you
Hmm.
do. And that being said, it's not necessarily unhealthy. I imagine it must be taxing. Like imagine those people who are so tied up into recovery, it becomes every instance of their life because before that, every part of their life was addiction, is active addiction.
Hmm.
So I see it. I see the tie there, but at the same point, I feel like it's healthy to have something else.
I
It
do
can't
too.
just be the focus of one thing, because it's not like you're going to make some giant breakthrough recovery because you make 4 meetings a day, 7 days a week. You know what I mean? You may make one for you, but for the greater good, And I guess that's weird too, because I don't think maybe we should necessarily, our drive shouldn't, it's not like my drive is for the greater good of mankind. My drive is more for the greater good of my family and the people around me and my friends. Like, and
Hmm.
I gestured towards John, so you people on the podcast know that John is still my friend.
Yes.
And it's just, it's, I don't
I
know.
I think that
You
it's
know,
important to me that there's more to my identity than just my recovery, right?
right? It's
I
an
think
aspect.
it's a
Yeah.
huge aspect
Mhm.
because everything else, everything else currently has been rooted in that only because I wouldn't have all of the things, the time, the energy, the effort, the creations, the relationships, the friendships, all the love and the life that I have were it not for that decision and that
Right.
working on that. So it's important. And I would, I can't imagine any other way of living now. I mean, actually, that's not true. I can, and I don't ever want to go back to that.
Right. Yeah.
So when I meet somebody who's super excited about recovery, I try to be polite, but I'm with you is in that, like, I'm always curious about what else is going on, or who else they are, because I feel like that there's more to people than this. And I think maybe that's something that some people get afraid of is, well, if I go into the rooms or if I decide to live this kind of lifestyle, this is all I'm going to be, and
Right.
I won't have anything else.
Hmm.
And I found that to not be the case at all, even though I'm sitting here doing a podcast
It
about recovery.
it is like the biggest cliche in the normies fucking toolbox is, oh, you're just trading one addiction for another. They
Mhm.
like love that, right? And now here I am separating me from them because I've been quarantined in my house. I'm going crazy, and I'm not really, but it seems to be the biggest toolbox. That seems to be like the biggest cliche in some people's toolboxes. Is like, well, aren't you just trading one addiction for another? And I'm like, yeah, dude, but when I go to an AA meeting, I don't come home and scream in my fucking wife's face. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't crash my fucking car.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't been to an AA meeting and really contemplating, and sticking a gun. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, this is kind of a good addiction though. Like, I don't know. It's maybe this is my resentment hour, but I just that's the other one too is when, oh, you're trading one for another. And even though I meet really gung ho thumpers or gung ho recovery thumpers, I kind of do what you do with cigarettes. I just cross the street. I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, keep your cloud over there. Yeah.
Well, and I understand. I guess I can appreciate the intention because they want to help. People want to help other people,
Hmm.
and uh, I I think I think that that's a positive thing. I just know that for myself, I can't. I have to have other things. I've always had other interests. I've always had other desires. I've always had other dreams in life that things I've wanted to accomplish or do
Right.
or create.
Right.
I mean, so here, I'll give you a fucking example. I mean, a lot of my life is, we talked about this a couple episodes or whatever, dichotomy about being a bartender. And I do a lot of stuff. I have another partner I do artwork with, and a lot of it is bar related. It's liquor
Yeah.
related. It's all
Well,
this stuff.
he's
And
still a
so
bartender, isn't
he's
he?
still a bartender. And so we do all this artwork. And so a part of me feels like, oh no, can I do both? Can I have a podcast about recovery and help create comics about working in a bar?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess you can, because I did it. And that's just been my life experience. That's not like, oh, well, I got to make sure I only do one or the other. If I did that, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be happy in recovery if I felt like it was hindering me from something else. So it's important to, I think it's important for me to have a strong basis of recovery and have a good program and work that program and have it there so that when I feel like I'm faltering, I can go back to it and say, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, John. These are the rules that you follow now so that you can feel better and feel freer in the other
Yeah.
things that you do.
Hmm.
So I think that it's a challenge to go back and forth, and it's a fine line. and I wouldn't. I just remember somebody telling me, like, I wanted to write this book about A is for Alcoholic. I wanted to write that book that we've been working on. And then I wanted to do this other thing. And it was sort of this, like, quote unquote, art book or cartoon book about bars, and doing like maybe a cocktail book or something like that. And somebody said, you can't do both. And I was like, well, why not? And I felt that way for a long time. Like, I can't do both. But that's been my experience. I just happen to be stuck in the middle of these two fucking things. Like, I don't want to say I didn't choose this, but this is just where I found myself. So
yeah, there's a lot of people. I've met going through recovery, but anyway, continue.
Just that I don't think you get to choose what defines you as a human being.
Yes, in some ways, and then there are the things you can't help. Like, I am a recovering alcoholic, and I couldn't help that I'm an alcoholic. But then, once again, the argument, and I hate using the term normie, I can't think of any other way, but the norm argument is like, yeah, but you chose to take that first drink. And I'm like, come on now. We're going to hinge it all on that one fucking drink. That's like you decided to eat a piece of bread and now you're fucking hooked on bread. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, alcohol in of itself is inert. I say it all the time. It's innocuous. That one beer, depending on the size, is not going to make or break most people. But one beer, depending on the size, will make or break a person like me. So yes, I chose to take that first drink, but I didn't. Once what I'm saying. Once we're off to the races, that's out of hand. So it's always like, well, it's a self-imposed disease, and I'm like, it is, but you could say the same for lung cancer if you didn't start smoking or you didn't go outside and breathe in fumes from cars and
sure.
I don't know. So there are things that are absolutely our choice and things that are not our choice.
Sure, but the program that you whether or not, so you decide you're an alcoholic and you work the program, it allows you the freedom to do all this other shit. So what? So let that be the one thing that I'm pigeonholed in. Self-imposed.
Exactly.
Okay. Fuck it. Whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Everything else can be a choice then, because I didn't have any choice when I was drinking. It was just drink and drink.
Yeah. And like, if you were born with, now I'm getting into the particulars of it, but yeah, if you were born with like an extra toe or something.
Like, what if you are? Have you ever met anybody with an extra digit?
Toe. Polydactyl, or is that just cats? I have a cat.
You have a cat that has extra toes, right?
Yeah, she's got a shitload of toes.
Does it ever bother her?
Nah, but she's just generally kind of a dick though, so maybe it's the toes. I don't know.
Is she?
I think it's just a cat thing. Oh man, she bit me so hard this morning. I was like, you fucking bitch, at like 7 a.m. She goes up by 6:30 because I just wake up normally, and she crawls up in my chest, and I'm being affectionate. I'm like petting her, waking up, and for some reason she just bit the shit out of my left hand, like hard. She'll bite at me, and I'll like whip my hand out of the way, and you can hear her teeth click together. And I was like, yeah, and it's about 7 a.m. I was just like, fucking bitch, like under my breath, and I like pushed her off of me, like, I ain't fucking playing with you, man. Yeah.
I have like an extra nipple, not really. Like there's like a little indentation that has no. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. It's not like it doesn't have like an areola.
Maybe you got that extra nip. Yeah. You don't need an areola to have a good time, dude.
So let me ask you this. Let's bring it back to nicotine for a second. Although identity is a fascinating thing, and it really, I mean, I don't know, man. You do you, Jerry, is what you like to say. So I mean, that's
what I say in the promo. Yeah. I haven't said that in a while. It's time to record a new promo.
It is time.
Yeah.
Nicotine. Do you smoke because you're stressed? Like, what is the impetus, or is it just a natural habit?
Not anymore. I mean, now it's just a natural. With the vaping, it's a natural habit. With the cigarette, you had to go through hoops to get there. So, like the stress thing, it being an alleviator of stress, you had to go outside and light up. Do you know what I mean? There was a whole thing you had to get through to get to the reward of it. And now, I guess now I have to go outside and vape in a lot of places too. Now it's like, oh, I'm so stressed, I need to hit this nicotine. But if I don't have the nicotine, I start feeling anxious and stressed. So, snaking its tail,
Yeah, it's fucking tricky, man. And like Mine is more food these days than anything else, because it's always like and I've gotten better with replacing it. So like instead of cigarettes, you vape. Instead of peanut M&Ms, I eat grapes, but I'll fuck up a whole big ass bag of grapes, and that's like 6 cups. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Like I'm like, okay, fuck it. I guess you just ate 6 cups of grapes. Like that's just.
But it's good calories though.
It's good calories.
It's high. It's not high in calories. It's a lot of calories, but at least it's not processed white sugar.
So that's what I tell myself. That's my next behavior modification that I need to make. Right. I guess half a cup of popcorn is not a big. It's a pretty big ass bowl, but it's also like that's like 250 calories for like a half a cup of unpopped popcorn. So there's
popcorn is really low though. 2 cups of popcorn is like 150 calories of popped popcorn.
Right. So I pop it myself these days. So I do the whole thing where I roll it in the pot.
Oh, so you're saying you measure out the half a cup, you do it. Yeah, you're so fucking fancy now. I swear
it's cheaper. It's just cheaper.
Texting each other. It's driving me nuts. Anyway.
But yeah, so I just think that I would just say to anyone who has any issues outside of alcohol while they're trying to recover is just take it the fuck easy and enjoy it and be, easy does it, right? Forgive yourself. I can't stress it enough, man. Like it just makes it so much easier when I say it's okay, John. Now, not to justify things to myself or not to excuse my behavior, bless you, but to make it easier to recover from that behavior. So it's human existence, right? It's just we're gonna make mistakes, and then we're gonna feel bad for them, and then we're gonna either we can do them again or we can try and learn and change. And so I'm more a fan of learning and changing these days than I am repeating the bad habits, even though I do sometimes repeat bad habits.
Yeah.
I've really been like hooked on fucking ice cream, right? I've been in the past and I haven't really fucked with it. But what I've been doing now is a little powdered peanut butter, banana, almond milk, throw a date in there. It's pretty good. It's not ice cream, but
you blend it all up?
I blend it all up and then I
freeze
it. Right. And then I freeze it, but then you got to put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds just to soften it up a little bit, and it's still kind of crunchy and icy, and it's not really like, I don't know. But
man, you eat like such a fucking hippie now.
I know.
It's so funny. I was watching your TikTok story on Instagram, and I'm like, this house, it's like black beans and lentils, and I'm like, your house must smell like patchouli and farts. Like, you're just like, delicious black beans and carrots. No spice, guys. No spice. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
I put some curry in there. I'm a big fan of curry in most things now.
It's like watching you cook was like, it was like a meal like my ex-girlfriend's dad would make. You know what I mean? Like I'd go visit my ex-girlfriend's dad. She's like, oh, we got to go see my dad. He's going to cook dinner. And then it'd be like tofu with like nutritional yeast, which was delicious. But it was also like, this is some wild shit because I grew up with like crazy Mexicans who ate fucking, beans and rice and chicken every meal. So.
But yeah, so I'm just experimenting with different stuff and just seeing what I can make. And yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just, the black beans were pretty tasty. I got some, although they can be a little gaseous. I'll just say.
I don't need to tear my shit up. Yeah, my house ends up smelling like yours, like farts and patchouli, sandalwood. I love it, but it's not like I'm not over here. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna say I'm not over here eating junk, but I had like 2 peeps. I had 2 peeps yesterday and some cookies and shit. Cake. We've been eating Megan's cake.
But see, you have been more diligent and more you count every single fucking thing. And I went lax in like November, I went like in like mellow mode, and
you went off the res, dude.
I was gone. And so that showed. And how has it showed? I haven't lost all the weight that I thought I would lose by this time, and I'm kind of like having to reassess and redo, and
lost a significant amount of weight though.
Yeah, significant amount of weight.
Here's the question, actually, and now we're on this with the weight loss, right?
Okay.
You lost what, 75 pounds, about
something like that, maybe 80, something like that. Yeah.
Almost pounds. So you still think of yourself as a fat guy, like in your brain?
In my brain, I do. In my brain, it shows up, and like I'll look at myself in the mirror, but
I'm not talking about like the body dysmorphia because I know at this point you've lost enough weight that if you look at yourself in the mirror without a shirt on, you're like, dang, I look pretty good. I would imagine, I hope you would because I do it all the time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, dang, Jerry, you look great. Thumbs up, you're fucking whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Your life, man. You look great. So, but in my brain, I'm still a fat guy. And like I was joking with my wife last night and I was like singing some stupid song and I was like, I'm just a big fat man. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not a fat man. It's even after all the weight loss, my brain still is like, you're a goofy fat dude. What's up, buddy? And not in a negative way. It's just my perception of myself. And I was
Yeah.
wondering if you were going through a similar thing. Like,
Yes, because I still have I have got a bit of a belly. I've got, my pecs are, they're carrying a little extra weight, and I'm trying to do some different reps with the dumbbells to kind of work on the pecs. But, when my girlfriend looks at me and she's like, wow, like you look so good and all these things. And so
right.
I'm like, obviously something's changed, but I do
Some,
feel that way.
Something has absolutely changed. Yeah, because you sent Megan a happy birthday message, which I think is just the generic message that you and Rashida recorded for everybody.
It wasn't, but yeah.
Right, because you guys like never said her name, but I'm like,
Really?
I think this is older. You look different in that. Was that a recent thing you guys recorded?
Yeah.
Really?
You think I just got
Must
like
have been.
a fucking catalog?
Yeah,
of
I
happy
really did.
birthday?
I thought it was just because I was like, that doesn't look like John. Like, it must be the angle you're filming, but you look like you had not
Oh.
gained weight. You look like John from like 2 years ago. Like, this is awful. Now I'm fucking with your
No, it's
perception
fine.
of
I don't.
yourself.
It's,
But then I was like, they must have like a generic one they send to everybody. It's the same thing because it was so vague. You're like, there you are, happy birthday, you. And so I was like, you never said anybody's name once, since I was like, I wonder if him and Rashida recorded one and they just send it all to everybody and nobody asks.
we just edit out the name part. Happy birthday, Megan.
Megan? Yeah, exactly. But I think you had the phone lower, so I was like, that's an older one.
We
John's
probably
hair
just had a
looks.
different
I
angle.
was like,
I
his
don't
hair
know.
looks different. His chin looks different. It looks different. But
Huh?
now I'm just
No,
telling you, you look fat. You don't look fat, dog.
no, I don't. I don't. Honestly, I'm starting to see. You know when I feel the best. You know when I look at myself and I go, hey, you're looking good, is after I've done something, after I've done the
Right.
squats, after I've done
Workouts,
the
yeah.
sit-ups, after I've even done like the yoga routine that I do before I fucking go running. Like after I do that shit, I go like, man, you look great. It's when
Great.
so it's in my brain. So it's when I lay around all day, which is very easy to do. If I fuck
Especially
around,
now, yeah.
if I don't eat right, if I'm spending too much time looking at bad news and social media, then I start to feel bad. But when I go and do things, my self-perception, my self-image is infinitely better than when I don't. So I'm a firm believer in that the action dictates the mood. It has
Right.
been proven to me in my own life over and over and over and over again. One of these days, I swear I'm going to get it and not go like, why am I in such a bad mood? Why do I feel so sorry for myself? Well, did you do anything, John?
Right.
You need to go fucking do something.
You just sat around and marinated all day.
Exactly. And it's gross. So, I think in conclusion, although I think only about a third of this conversation was about nicotine.
I mean, how can we really talk about nicotine for an hour, though? I mean,
No,
we could
but-
talk about the path. It's just basically alcohol and nicotine. Do you know what I mean? They're boyfriends.
Do they have, right? They are boyfriends.
They are boyfriends. They live together. They got a nice cat. Maybe they don't, but they fucking go hand in hand. But when
Yeah.
you get rid of alcohol, nicotine takes over and becomes the head honcho.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
and
you either kick it or don't. I mean, do what's good for you. Do what works for you. Take your
do what
time.
makes sense. Seriously.
Take it
and-
easy.
And I think if anybody is looking for any kind of resource, just Google Alan Carr. You don't even need to buy the book. There's tons of like YouTube videos, and he talks about the science of it and why we smoke and why we get hooked on it. And I don't know, man. It's just like I said. I mean, I know you said a lot of people. There are people who love it and people who enjoy it, and I was one of them for a very long time. So I
Right.
100% understand that feeling.
Mhm.
It wasn't until later that I became one of those people who said, I really wish I didn't have to smoke. And I think that was kind of like that step zero in like alcoholism, where they say this shit has got to stop.
Right.
Where I started to feel like I'm not a smoker and I don't want to be a smoker.
Yeah.
I wish I could stop. And so like that was like the little seed that finally, after years, led me to quit. But I mean, do what you need to do to keep sober. I mean, that's the only thing we're here to promote is sobriety.
Pretty much.
Right? There's not
for
really
the most part. Yeah, sobriety, I guess, in running at this point. Yeah,
and popcorn.
Yeah, and your weird date ice cream. That is just your whole cooking in general. Is this you're just washing dirt off of everything. You're like, I brought home a nice rutabaga.
I found a turnip on my run.
That's what I'm saying. You're like, I just snack on radishes. I'm like, fucking real? You're like, yeah. And from my mind, I picture you eating a giant turnip, like an apple.
They're tiny.
But they're little
tiny.
Guys. Yeah.
Next time you go,
I like radish. Really? Just eat it like a little cherry.
Straight up.
All right, I'll give it a try.
It's pretty mild. It's
when this quarantine ban is lifted, I'll walk over to Safeway. The Safeway's right there, dude. I guess I could go over there. I just would freak out. I have anxiety about it a little bit, so that's a whole other podcast. Maybe that'll be is for shit.
Or it could be for optimism.
Optimism, probably optimism. Yeah.
Optimus Prime. We could talk about the Transformers movies, the whole series.
I've only seen one, but
you got time.
Is young. Yeah, I got time. Exactly.
The day is young. Get hooked on some fucking who was it? Michael Bay.
Michael Bay.
There's a great
we got pre and post Shia LaBeouf, so you never know, man.
There's a great YouTube, and for anybody who's interested in some other stuff to watch, listen to. There's a great YouTuber called Lindsay Ellis. And she does a lot of film theory, and she did a whole series where she breaks down all of she does a whole series on the Transformer movies, and it's fascinating.
Really?
Like, it's fucking cool. And it's called like The Whole Cake, because she makes some reference to the who's the guy who's the lead on that TV show Blackish? His name is Anthony
Edwards Hopkins. No,
Anthony
those
Edwards?
are all wrong.
No, it's not.
Anderson or some shit. Anyway, yeah.
He was Pookie, or he was in Harold and Kumar, and he's the one who's working at the fucking White Castle. He says, "I'm going to burn this motherfucker to the ground."
Burn this motherfucker to the ground. Yeah.
So, but it's called like The Whole Cake or something like that.
Anthony
Anderson. So Lindsay Ellis on YouTube, go check her out. Her stuff, I've watched almost all of her stuff. It's really fascinating film. Critique, and she does this whole series about the Transformers, which you're like, really, dude? But it's great. So
check it out.
And smoke them if you got them. Smoke them if you need them.
You got them.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.